Have you ever woken up feeling weighed down, like there's an invisible force holding you still, despite your best intentions to get moving? You know you should be productive, energetic, or at least motivated, but instead, you feel stuck. The word lazy might pop into your mind, but deep down, you sense that something more complex is going on. This feeling of being lazy is often misunderstood. Society tends to label it as a personal failing, a lack of willpower or discipline. But in reality, what we call laziness is frequently a symptom, not a flaw, of something deeper. It could be a sign of disconnection from yourself, overwhelming stress, or emotional fatigue. When we dismiss these feelings as mere laziness, we overlook the real causes that deserve attention and care. If you're here, it means you want to explore what's beneath that surface resistance. This isn't about judgment or pressure, it's about compassion and curiosity. What if your stuckness is an invitation to reconnect with yourself, to listen to what your mind and body are really telling you? What if understanding these feelings could open the door to gentle healing and renewed energy? In this transcript, we'll journey together to uncover why you feel stuck and how you can find your way back to yourself. Back to motivation, clarity, and a sense of ease. It's a compassionate, reflective space to explore the why behind the inertia and discover the path forward. The feeling of being stuck. Many of us wake up to a familiar resistance that greets the morning like an unwelcome shadow. Instead of leaping out of bed, our bodies and minds drag us down into a fog of procrastination. We tell ourselves we'll start soon, after just one more scroll through social media, another video, another distraction. Hours slip away unnoticed, replaced by a growing tension deep inside. This isn't just about poor habits or laziness. It's an internal struggle, a silent battle against ourselves. Beneath the surface, guilt mounts like a quiet storm. Guilt for not doing enough, for wasting time, for failing to meet our own expectations. We blame ourselves, but the truth is more complicated. The feeling of being stuck is a signal, a message from our brain and body telling us something is off balance. Imagine being trapped in quicksand, or walking through a thick fog that blurs the path ahead. This stuckness often comes from a deep disconnection, from our goals, from the motivation that once ignited us, and from the deeper sense of purpose that makes efforts meaningful. It's like watching the world speed by and fast forward, while you remain caught in slow motion, unable to move or catch up. This experience is more common than you might think, and it's understandable to feel overwhelmed or frustrated by it. You are not alone in this struggle. Many have stood exactly where you are now, feeling the weight of inertia and the pull of distraction. It's painful, but it's also a doorway, a sign that your inner compass needs recalibrating. Recognizing that stuckness is not laziness, but a complex emotional and mental state, is the first step toward freeing yourself. It's an invitation to pause, listen, and reconnect, to find the thread that leads you back to momentum and meaning. The science behind the struggle. To understand why many of us feel restless, distracted, or unmotivated in today's fast-paced world, it helps to look at the brain's chemistry, specifically the role of a chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is often called the brain's reward and motivation chemical. Think of it as the messenger that signals pleasure and drives us to seek out activities that feel good or important. When we achieve something rewarding, like eating a delicious meal, winning a game, or receiving praise, dopamine floods our brain, making us feel good and encouraging us to repeat those actions. However, modern life is full of what scientists call super stimuli. These are exaggerated versions of natural rewards that hijack our dopamine system. Social media platforms, instant notifications, endless scrolling, likes, and shares are designed to deliver quick, intense bursts of dopamine. They're like flashing neon signs constantly vying for our attention, offering immediate gratification with every beep and buzz. Unlike traditional rewards that require effort and time, these superstimuli are easily accessible and instantly satisfying. The problem with constant exposure to superstimuli is that it causes dopamine tolerance. Just like a person who develops a tolerance to a drug needs larger amounts to feel the same effect, our brains start needing bigger and bigger doses of dopamine to achieve satisfaction. Over time, the quick hits from social media or games lose their charm, and activities that once felt fulfilling, like reading, exercising, or socializing, start to feel dull or uninteresting. Our brains become desensitized, craving more intense stimuli just to feel normal. This dopamine imbalance leads to several consequences. Motivation takes a hit, making it harder to start or stick with meaningful tasks. Concentration becomes a challenge as the brain craves the next dopamine hit, leading to distractions and procrastination. Emotional dips, like feelings of boredom, guilt, or restlessness, become more common as our internal reward system struggles to keep up with the constant bombardment. Imagine the brain as a finely tuned symphony orchestra. Each instrument represents a different emotion or drive, working together in harmony to create balance and focus. Now picture that orchestra constantly interrupted by a loud, out-of-tune instrument that drowns out the rest. This is what constant overstimulation does. It throws off the brain's natural rhythm, making it harder to appreciate the quieter, more meaningful moments of life. Understanding this science behind the struggle helps us see why simply trying harder isn't enough. Our brains are wired to seek pleasure and avoid discomfort, but modern technology has shifted the goalposts. Recognizing the dopamine dance is the first step toward regaining balance and rediscovering motivation in a world full of distractions. The vicious cycle of instant gratification. Instant gratification hooks us into a relentless, addictive loop. At its core is the pursuit of easy pleasure, whether it's scrolling endlessly through social media, binge-watching shows, or snacking on junk food. These quick hits trigger a surge of dopamine, the brain's feel-good chemical, delivering a brief but intense spike of happiness. However, this spike is fleeting, and soon after comes an emotional crash, a slump marked by restlessness, boredom, or dissatisfaction. To escape this low, the brain craves another quick fix, sending us spiraling back into seeking easy pleasure again and again. This loop is deceptively destructive. While the temporary high feels rewarding, it undermines deeper, more fulfilling sources of motivation. Effortful activities, studying, exercising, creating art, require patience, persistence, and delayed rewards. But in the face of instant gratification, these effortful pursuits become aversive. The brain starts to see hard work as a daunting uphill battle, while the easy fix feels like a warm, inviting shortcut. Over time, the preference for quick dopamine hits dulls our capacity for sustained effort and focus, eroding the foundation for meaningful achievement. Imagine trying to row a small boat upstream against a powerful, relentless current. Each stroke forward is exhausting, and the current constantly pushes you back. Meanwhile, the shore, the destination representing your true goals, grows hazier and more distant. This is the struggle of living under the sway of instant gratification. The strong current of easy pleasure blinds you to the steady, slower progress needed to reach your authentic aspirations. The consequences on mental and emotional well-being are profound. This cycle can foster feelings of emptiness, frustration, and low self-worth, as the gap between short-term pleasure and long-term fulfillment widens. Anxiety and restlessness often increase, fueled by the brain's unquenched desire for stimulation. Over time, this can lead to burnout, reduced resilience, and even depression, highlighting that the easy path may ultimately be the most painful. Breaking free requires recognizing the addictive nature of instant gratification and cultivating patience for the rewarding struggle of effortful growth. Reclaiming control. Mindful consumption. The content we consume daily shapes not only what we know, but also how we feel and think. Our brains and emotions are deeply influenced by the information, images, and sounds we absorb. That's why it's essential to distinguish between nourishing and numbing content. Nourishing content feeds your curiosity, creativity, and emotional well-being. It challenges your mind, inspires growth, and offers meaningful insights. On the other hand, numbing content serves as a distraction, filling time without adding value. It often leaves you feeling drained, restless, or disconnected. Imagine the internet as a vast ocean. Within it lie calm waters filled with knowledge, wisdom, and thoughtful perspectives. These are the spaces where learning and genuine connection happen. But the ocean also contains storms, chaotic waves of noise, sensationalism, and endless distractions that overwhelm your senses and cloud your focus. Navigating this ocean thoughtfully can mean the difference between feeling empowered or overwhelmed. Carl Jung, who coined the term, described synchronicity as a meaningful coincidence that lacks a direct causal relationship but still feels powerfully connected. Unlike random chance, these moments seem charged with purpose. They often arrive when you're on the cusp of change, growth, or inner clarity, as though the universe is mirroring your internal transformation through the outer world. You might hear a song that perfectly reflects your emotional state, receive an unexpected message just when you're thinking about someone, or repeatedly encounter a symbol, number, or phrase that stirs something within. These experiences can feel surreal, like waking dreams woven into the fabric of your everyday life. Synchronicities aren't necessarily signs pointing you toward specific decisions. Rather, they are invitations to pay attention. They nudge you to look inward and ask, "What's trying to emerge within me right now?" Or, "What truth am I being asked to notice?" The more tuned in you are to your inner life, your thoughts, emotions, and intuition, the more frequent and vivid these moments tend to become. It's not that the universe is suddenly sending more signals. It's that your awareness is expanding, allowing you to perceive the subtle patterns that were always there. Ultimately, synchronicity reminds us that the boundaries between the inner and outer worlds are more porous than they seem. In moments of synchronicity, life feels enchanted, not because magic is happening outside of you, but because something deeply aligned is happening within. The risk of escaping reality, spiritual burnout. One danger few talk about on the spiritual path is spiritual burnout. The exhaustion that sets in when inner work becomes an obsession rather than a journey of growth. In our eagerness to evolve, we can fall into the trap of constantly fixing ourselves, as though we're a never-ending project in need of repair. The quest for awakening becomes a relentless pursuit of healing, purging, and self-analysis, leaving little room for simply being. But true awakening is not about relentless introspection or achieving some perfect version of yourself. It's about balance. Just as the body needs rest, the soul does too. Deep spiritual work requires moments of stillness, but also moments of play, connection, and lightheartedness. Laughter, creativity, and even boredom have their place in a healthy, awakened life. When spirituality becomes a means of escaping the messiness of everyday reality, relationships, responsibilities, emotions, it turns into another form of avoidance. The goal isn't to transcend life, but to meet it fully, with greater awareness and compassion. Real growth means showing up to the mundane as well as the mystical. Learning to be present, not just on the meditation cushion, but in traffic, at work, during conflict, and in community. Spiritual burnout often stems from forgetting that we're already whole, even as we grow. The inner work is meant to deepen our humanity, not erase it. If your practices leave you feeling depleted, isolated, or overwhelmed, it might be time to pause, not to give up, but to integrate. The most profound shifts often come not in doing more, but in allowing ourselves to simply be. Remember, your spirit thrives not just in depth, but in balance. The spiritual ego, the illusion of superiority. One of the most subtle and deceptive traps on the path of personal or spiritual growth is the development of the spiritual ego, the belief that one is more evolved, awakened, or enlightened than others. It sneaks in quietly, often disguised as confidence or insight, but ultimately reinforces the very self-centeredness that genuine awakening seeks to dissolve. The spiritual ego forms when growth becomes an identity. We may begin to define ourselves by our practices, our insights, or our level of awareness, and start to unconsciously compare ourselves to others. We might look down on those who still don't get it, or speak of our breakthroughs with an air of superiority, as if we've crossed a threshold others have yet to reach. This mindset is seductive because it feels like progress, and in some ways, it is progress. But it also reanimates the same egoic structures we hope to transcend. Instead of being ruled by material success or status, we're now ruled by spiritual pride. The paradox is that true spiritual maturity is marked by humility. The more we awaken, the more we realize how vast the unknown is, and how little we can truly claim to grasp. Authentic depth carries a softness, a gentleness. It doesn't need to be declared or defended. Recognizing the spiritual ego is not a failure, it's a milestone. It means we're deepening our awareness. But it also calls us back to the heart of the journey. Presence, compassion, and the quiet courage to keep letting go. Even of the idea that we're awake. Building small, consistent habits is a practical way to embrace discomfort without overwhelming ourselves. Simple daily actions, like making your bed every morning, establishing a consistent wake-up routine, or taking scheduled breaks from screens, may seem minor, but they cultivate discipline and structure. These small wins create momentum, making it easier to tackle bigger challenges over time. Consistency, not perfection, is the key to habit formation. Patience and self-compassion are critical throughout this journey. Change doesn't happen overnight, and setbacks are inevitable. Instead of harsh self-judgment, approach each stumble as a learning opportunity. Celebrate the small victories, no matter how trivial they seem. These moments of progress reinforce positive behavior and keep motivation alive. Ultimately, embracing discomfort and building habits go hand in hand. By inviting challenge and practicing kindness toward ourselves. We create sustainable growth that lasts far beyond fleeting motivation. It's through this ongoing process that we unlock our true potential. The path back to yourself. The journey you've traveled is one many silently endure. From feeling overwhelmed and disconnected from who you truly are, to gaining clarity through understanding and embracing intentional change. It's a path marked by ups and downs, but each step has brought you closer to reclaiming your sense of self. Remember, you are not lazy or broken. You are human, navigating a complex, fast-paced world that often demands more than anyone can reasonably give. It's easy to forget this, especially when comparing yourself to others or chasing impossible standards. But self-kindness is essential. Treat yourself with the same compassion you'd offer a dear friend. Your worth is inherent, regardless of your productivity or perceived success. Change doesn't happen overnight. It's the small, daily choices, those moments of intentionality, that create lasting transformation. Whether it's setting gentle boundaries, prioritizing rest, or tuning into your emotions, each deliberate step builds momentum. These tiny actions weave together into a tapestry of resilience and renewed purpose. Most importantly, hold on to hope. The lost version of you, the person you long to be, is still within, waiting patiently, ready to be rediscovered and nurtured. This is your time to reconnect, to listen deeply, and to move forward with courage and empowerment. Your path back to yourself is not just possible, it's already unfolding. Remember, this process is a journey, not a race. Growth and change take time, and each step forward, no matter how small, is progress. Be patient with yourself and keep showing up, even on days when it feels hard. Your commitment to yourself matters more than perfection. Today, consider trying just one small change. It might be a simple act of kindness toward yourself, or a moment of reflection on what truly matters to you. These small actions build the foundation for greater transformation over time. Hold on to this hopeful image. The spark within you is still there. It's waiting quietly, ready to ignite when you give it your attention and care. Trust that with patience and persistence, that spark will shine bright again, lighting your path forward with renewed energy and purpose.